comment. Members of the public wishing to address the board are welcome to do so during the board's regularly scheduled meetings. And just so everybody, yep, if you want to mute yourself, if you've joined us, fantastic. We've got 4 items on the agenda, and then we also have an executive session following our 4 business items. So we'll go ahead and get started with the county manager update.
Chair Cuello, members of the board, good morning. Just real quick, I want to remind that next Wednesday's regular board meeting will be hybrid. It's like all things, it's our first foray into the hybrid, so we're all keeping our collective fingers crossed that it all goes well and seamlessly, but it may take a little patience as well, as we know. The other, I'd just like to give Joanna a couple minutes to give a little update on the referendum piece of what happened when I was gone last week, just about the process and the timelines that we're working under. So thank you. Go ahead, Joanna. You're on mute, Joanna.
Can't hear you.
Let's try this. Can you all hear me now? All right. Okay. So thank you, Chair and Board. Thank you for having me today. So we received a prospective petition from 3 prospective petitioners challenging Ordinance 2205. That would be the short-term rental ordinance that you all passed last month. I believe it was June 20th, if my memory sounds that is correct. And so the next step in that prospective petition is it was given to us at the county to draft a ballot title. And so the ballot title is a very technical document that must meet the state requirements for word length and context. It must neutrally state what the ballot title is asking for. So myself as county counsel and the county manager have been working together to draft that. We've also engaged other staff to assist with the data on drafting that ballot title. We currently do have a ballot title drafted. We're again still working through and making sure embedding it, making sure all the information is accurate. Once that is finalized, it will be published in a newspaper of general circulation within the county, and it will give an opportunity for anyone to contest the language of the ballot title. If there is no objections, then it will be given to the petitioners to then go and obtain signatures. The requirement for a referendum is that it has to be at least 4% of the registered voters within Clatsop County. And I don't remember exactly what the numbers are, but I want to say it's roughly 750 people or more that have to sign on. And then it has to be done within a certain period of time. I want to say it's, off the top of my head, I want to say it's 90 days, but I wrote it all out for you all, and I can provide that information to you later. So it's a certain time frame and a certain number of electors. If the petitioners are able to acquire that many signatures, then it would go on the next election and go out for an election on the issue. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's a brief rundown of where we're at right now.
Well, if I could just, sorry, Commissioner Banks, Chair Cuello, members of the board, just a little bit of an overview. I think by statute too, the district attorney has a role in this process also, and that is to approve. I mean, typically they can prepare and approve the ballot title. We've been working with the district attorney. He's aware, and he will be ultimately approving the ballot title. So there is that component to it also. Thank you.
Thank you, County Manager. Thank you, County Council. Do we have any questions? I see Commissioner Banks. Commissioner Banks.
So I have a lot of questions. So, you know, I think that the reason why we have that process is amazing, and I fully support all of our voters and all of our constituents. My fear is there a way to phrase this and so that we don't have a similar situation that Lincoln County is facing right now? Whereas, you know, they have a number of lawsuits against them, and they're trying to phase out short-term rentals. And I would be devastated to have to be in a position to pick winners and losers in the short-term rental game. And so I guess I'm just a little, you know, if the voters vote and that I fully support that. It's just, how do we, is there a way, after watching Lincoln County, is there a way to help structure this process or help structure the verbiage so that we can learn from, I mean, granted, their stuff hasn't been resolved. So I don't know. That's a loaded question. I know. I'm so sorry, County Council.
Commissioner Bangs, I think it's a really good question, because we want to learn from what has happened to our neighboring counties, and certainly want to make it as smooth for our citizens as possible. I will point out there's a big difference between Lincoln County. Theirs was a voter initiative where they proposed an ordinance. This prospective petition, if it goes to the ballot, would be to repeal the commissioner's ordinance. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense.
I guess it does, but in the same hand, so are we just doing a poor job in communication with our constituents, I wonder? I'll let other commissioners speak.
Well, we have Commissioner Toyoka and then Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Toyoka.
Thank you. My question is on this, since we as a commission voted to adopt the ordinance with directions to go back to staff to make, to look into changes for code compliance, and there's some other factors that are going in. So with that ordinance not being complete, I guess, in the process, can you petition as something that is not complete? Or how do we, it seems like we'd be stuck in a loop since we are not done with that ordinance completely. And then we have a petition against it, but the ordinance is not complete. Can you kind of fill me in on that process?
Commissioner Toyoka, it's an excellent question. As we all understand it, ordinances are an iterative process. We often pass an ordinance, you all pass an ordinance, your board passes an ordinance, and sometimes we amend it. Often we amend it and we refine it. State law says it's within a certain period of time, and I would have to look at County Clerk Tracy Gravenko, that the ordinance is adopted, so it's passed at the county board level, that they have to go out and gather the signatures. One of the things I think is very valuable to point out is the fact that you as a board have not finalized your decision about caps. And certainly I'm hoping that that will make it into the ballot title as well, at least that notation.
If I might, Chair Cuellar, members of the board, I think that part of the motion to adopt the ordinance was to direct staff to do additional work. And so to Commissioner Toyoka's point, and to what I think staff feels, is that we're still in the process of really vetting what the final outcome is. And so, in some regards, it seems a little bit premature because we haven't gone through the entire process yet. I think, though, that what we know is that the ordinance dealt with the law duck. What would come forward would be some potential amendments to the administrative code, which is where a lot of the code enforcement elements are, and where the caps would also reside. And so on the one side, this is the two sides of the coin we've been dealing with through this whole STR process, is the law duck side, which is the zoning side, and then the administrative code side. And so, I think that is where this gets a little nuanced, is that we're still dealing with those two sides of the coin, and we're not done yet, but the law duck code side was completed as part of the ordinance, and now we still have this additional work. And so it's a little awkward. And what I would say is, we are going to come back to your board soon to really lay out with some specificity what those additional steps are and the timeline. And I think likely, that will be done in a time frame that, could be, kind of incongruous with the timeline for this potential petition. So it's going to be awkward going forward as we try to mesh all these different elements.
Yeah, thank you, County Manager. Thanks for that additional context. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. Awkward is the operative term, I think. Because our ordinance applies only to unincorporated Clatsop County, are the voters entitled to vote on this only from unincorporated Clatsop County as well?
So Commissioner Thompson, Chair and Commissioner Thompson. No, in fact, the entire county will be able to vote on the measure if it makes it to the ballot.
That's curious to me.
Mhm.
County Manager, do you have anybody have any enlightenment on the rationale for that, just to help me understand? Or that's just the rules?
Yeah, I think that's really common that, county is a general purpose government that has broad geographic boundaries. And then, city special districts reside within those geographic boundaries of a county. And there's very few things that only unincorporated residents would vote for. And that's typically if they are part of the special district. So if the county decided to set up a rural, district, which we have, then only those members of that district vote, kind of like what you see in the urban areas. So generally things for the county are a countywide election, short of it being part of a subset, which would special district would be an example. So.
Well, to Commissioner Bang's point, this makes it much more complicated to communicate effectively because there are different standards according to the various urbanized areas within Clatsop County. So this becomes more and more challenging. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. Commissioner Banks.
Sorry, my mouse didn't want to work.
There we go.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, it makes the communication issue even more muddy, I think, because our municipalities have different rules also. So I'm also curious, and so a lot of these properties that potentially could be impacted with this entire evolving situation, those are property owners. Can our property owners, maybe it's not their primary residence, maybe they're snowbirds, can our property owners also be able to weigh in on this vote? I feel like, this vote is about their property rights and the future of how their properties are going to be able to be used and facilitated. And so I'm just curious if they will be able to have a voice in this whole entire conversation. And then I guess secondly, it's almost impossible to forecast what could or would happen, but if this gets booted back to us and we're not in a moratorium at that time, what happens to those property owners, I guess, is my thought process. What happens to their properties if we're outside of a moratorium in that time? A year, maybe 2 years down the line, if this particular instance is unsuccessful and it comes back up. I just feel like there's a lot of muddy waters here and not a whole lot of real clear, precise, transparent information for folks to read that is neutral. I'm talking neutral, this is a potential consequence of what is evolving right here.
Sorry, please.
Yeah,
go ahead, Commissioner, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No worries. I like to forecast unintended consequences of processes, and that's kind of my thought process.
Yeah, County Manager.
Chair Aquila, members of the board, I think that, Commissioner Banks makes a good point. What I would say is that, the county just received this late last week. And so there's going to be time for us to take together, Q&A and a lot more context well before it ever goes to the voters. And so we have plenty of time, and we have a 5-day requirement to respond with the ballot title and the summary. And that's really kind of what the focus is right now. And again, there's still work that would need to be done to actually put this on the ballot. And so staff will certainly work through all those questions, and I'm sure the board is going to help us with those questions. And then if it does go, there'll be a lot of communication to the public about what it means, what the implications are, where the impact areas are. And so there'll be a lot of work. The good news, I guess, if you want to see it, is that we do have time. I think the biggest thing right now is just getting the ballot title and the summary done so we can meet the statutory timeframes.
Thank you, County Manager. Commissioner Bangs, do you have a quick one?
Yeah, real quick. Is there some way that we can communicate? I don't see Commissioner Webb here today. Is there some way we can communicate this conversation to her so she's fully circled in?
Yes, I will give Commissioner Webb a call, and I will fill her in on the conversation. Thank you.
Just to add to that, she will be joining us late. She did phone in.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa, and thank you, County Manager. I think we'll move on. This is early in the process. This was intended to just give an update about the status and the receipt of this, and we'll be having further discussions in the meetings ahead. So thanks for everything. We'll move on to the next item, which is the biannual Veteran Services Program update. We have Josh Davis, our Veteran Service Officer, with us here today. I also see that Viviana Matthews from CCA is here as well. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Josh.
Hey, good morning, commissioners. Thank you for having me this morning. It's a pleasure to see all your faces again. I just wanted to kind of start by I'm working with Amanda, and if I can get Amanda to go ahead and put up the slideshow. So kind of to start, I've been here. I hit my 1-year anniversary being here in the county on June 7th, and it's allowed me some time. Thank you, Amanda. It's allowed me some time to reflect on things and really kind of take a good look at where we're at as a county, the things that I have seen, and what has been explained to me by veterans in the county and their needs. Next slide, please. My first thing that I wanted to focus on is just my appreciation for the community. When I got here, June of 2021, I was completely new to the community. I really didn't know anybody. I had some ideas on what I would like to do, and the veterans community was so welcome and warm. That's everybody from the veterans themselves in the community to folks on the county staff. I can't express enough gratitude for folks like Viviana, Amanda, Rappenchuk, PJ, all the folks that fulfill these roles that nobody really ever sees, but are so integral in the success of our programs. It was been absolutely fantastic. So I'm so appreciative of the community just even giving me a chance to see what I could do to try to help. Next slide, please. So, coming aboard amidst, among the pandemic, it created a lot of challenges for us, as I'm sure you folks are well aware, but we really have had to get creative as to how we served veterans in our community. And that really meant serving people where they are. There are a lot of folks that were not able to come out of their homes or didn't feel comfortable going to places where there were a lot of people. And so that just meant getting creative. And that was everything from going in hospital visits to, I took many times, I took 2 folding chairs and a pop-up card table and sat on front porches, more than 6 feet apart from folks to conduct appointments outside. But it was necessary. It was what needed to happen in order for folks to really, truly get served. We also realized that we needed to provide more options for engagement with veteran services. I think that there was a lot of kind of stop and start as to how and when people were receiving services prior to me coming on board. And there needed to be options for folks to connect with veteran services, and have it be consistent. Consistency was a big part of it. Next slide, please. Part of that was home visits. Over the course of the last year, we provided 35 home visits were conducted with Clatsop County veterans. Those were conducted with veterans themselves that were housebound or had, medical needs that prevented them from leaving the home. Also, a lot of surviving dependents of veterans that were either in skilled nursing care or also could not leave the home due to various reasons. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we wanted to do was establish locations around the county. Now, granted, this is part of the contract that says that I will establish different locations so veterans at various areas of the county can have ready access to all the services that CCA Veteran Services provides. Currently, as far as our locations go, we have regular office locations here in Astoria, both at CCA headquarters and at Clatsop Community College. We also provide services at the American Legion Post 99 in Seaside. And we also provide services in Warrenton at the CCA's Regional Food Bank. And these are consistent services that are on the same day, at the same time, in the same places. Veterans and families are starting to learn where we are, and that's been a good thing. We've been seeing an increase in those individuals that show up during our walk-in services, and they're getting the help that they need in real time. And that's very important. It's really improved accessibility to crucial services. Next slide, please. So just to kind of give you a down and dirty, veterans served by the numbers. We've served approximately 180 walk-in services is what we've found. So just creating this ability for veterans to come in on particular days during windows of time has made it much more accessible. 180 folks have come through our doors. That's dependents, that's veterans, that's children of military families, active duty folks, 35 home visits, like I said before, 323 scheduled appointments. Thank heavens I have a lovely assistant. His name is Ivan Gonzalez, and he has been crucial to the success that we've been seeing here out of our office. Ivan is a business owner here in town. He has a food cart downtown, or a juice cart downtown, but he also serves as my assistant every day of the week in the mornings. And without Ivan's also a Coast Guard veteran with a background in medical. So he has been crucial, his expertise in helping us meet the needs of veterans in our area. Total of 538 veterans, military connected family members, and active duty service members we've served over the last year. Next slide, please. I have always been a big fan of community. I said that in the very beginning, that I think that it's crucial to veterans that they have a sense of community, and we're seeing that through our community outreach and partnerships that we've forged. The bi-monthly community veterans breakfast has been a big success. We see an average of 30 to 35 veterans will show up every first and third Thursday of every month at the Portlight Cafe at Camp Rylea. And these have been such a great thing because veterans get to come together and talk with each other. They can make contact with me if they've got questions, and they don't need to wait for an appointment, or just when changes in laws happen, when there are shifts to how they're going to receive benefits or things that they're hearing about or reading about. This has been a great opportunity for us to reach our veterans and their family members in our community. I've been working seamlessly with WorkSource Oregon, the Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Coordinator, Griselda Wilcox is a fantastic asset to our community. We work together often. We talk several times a week. As she encounters veterans that might be seeking employment services from her, she has been great about asking them if they've connected with CCA for additional supportive services, everything from veterans claims work to supportive housing to energy assistance, all of the different services that our agency provides. We've been getting those seamless referrals, and it's been great. Clatsop Community College is where I hold regular office hours on Fridays and on Wednesdays when I don't have other things going on. They've been wonderful and supportive. I hold open resource hours at the Lower Columbia Q Center on the last Wednesday of every month. A wonderful thing that has come out of that in the past couple of months, I've managed to get 2 veterans and have their discharge statuses overturned. These are veterans that were chaptered out of the military due to homosexuality or other things that the government found at that time to not be appropriate for military service. And in that period of time, we've been able to get those discharges overturned and those veterans connected with benefits. And that's a big deal, a really big deal. American Legion Post 99 in Seaside has been wonderful. They have allowed us to use their facility to host rural veteran suicide prevention activities and events for the community. And it's also where I conduct my walk-in services. And then Virtue at the Point Recovery Center, we have forged a relationship with. And some of you may not be aware, but Virtue at the Point Recovery Center only serves veterans. They don't serve anybody else. And so these are veterans that have come into town from other places, some veterans that are directly from our community. And it has been crucial that we have forged this partnership with them to get those veterans connected. And what we're really seeing is an increase in requests for other services through the county just through our engagement with Virtue at the Point Recovery Center. Next slide, please. Our housing services that CCA offers, I know you are all familiar with that, but the way CCA as a team works to meet the needs of veterans in our community has been robust, and it has been a group effort. There is no one person that is the rock star in this. We all are a gear in the machine, and that's everything from the terrific referrals that I get from CCA's community homeless liaisons. Those wonderful people are out and about every single day, boots on the ground, engaging with our homeless and houseless veterans, and they are getting referrals to me in real time. And as an agency, CCA is able to wrap their arms around these veterans and these families and really give them what they need in a robust manner. CCA supportive services for veterans and families, those case managers are in the trenches every single day working with these veterans and getting them housed. And then our Department of Veteran Affairs Homeless Outreach team that comes down from the VA. We meet with them monthly, the entire CCA case management team that serves veterans, and we are all online and understand how many veterans we have and what we're experiencing and what they're experiencing as far as their needs go with regarding to houselessness. And you know, and I don't want to leave anybody else out either. All of our support staff at CCA, from the gals that work the front desk to the people that answer the phones, have all been crucial in making sure that we reach our veterans in real time and that we're proactive in trying to assess their needs and not just reactive. Next slide, please. So, you know, we all should be well aware at this point about the national epidemic of suicide with veterans. It's a dark place, unfortunately, that we see a lot of veterans go to. And as a community, we have to do everything we can to support these veterans, support their families, and do what's necessary to prevent these things. In an effort to do this, shortly after I came to the county, right around July of last year, a gentleman from the VA reached out to me, told me about a VA program called Together with Veterans. And it is a veteran-steered program that's community-based but funded by the VA. And it specifically concentrates on rural veteran suicide prevention. Now, at the time, I did not have the bandwidth to do it all on my own. And I, you know, have always kind of felt that the strength comes from many voices that care. And so we decided to create a multi-county coalition called Together with Veterans, Pacific Northwest Together with Veterans. And it's a partnership with Clatsop County, Columbia County, Tillamook County, Washington County, and the Oregon Firearm Safety Coalition. Our steering committee is comprised of over 50% veterans from the community. And our focus really is to identify our region's readiness to tackle rural veteran suicide and to create community building opportunities for veterans who may feel isolated or who are struggling and don't know how to reach out and don't know how to ask for help. It's been very informative. It's been very enlightening. And I really think that as we go on and as the program grows, it really will help us create a roadmap on how to tackle this in our community. Next slide, please. So based on over the course of the last year, when I was doing all the reports, as of May 27, 2022, there's been an economic return of $776,616 to Clatsop County. And these are funds that have been distributed by the VA that's gone to Clatsop County veterans and their families. That's a big deal. That's a lot of money. It goes right back into the community, and we see it. And that amount and that dollar amount is only going to grow as time goes on and the needs increase. Next slide, please. So, looking to the future, because we want to be proactive instead of reactive, our engagement and requests for services by our community's veterans are increasing. I am contacted at the very least weekly by different agencies, different community partners that would like us to come and do outreach. That's everything from giving classes on veterans benefits to social workers at the hospital, to working with care facilities and homes that take care of veterans, all the way across the board. So those requests are increasing because they know that we're here and we're active, and that's a good thing. Back a couple of months ago, all of the county commissioners signed a letter about honoring our pact for the PACT Act, and this is the Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics Act. This is a bill that is for veterans, and it is one of the most robust bills that directly addresses presumptive service connection in our nation's history. A bill like this has not been put forward before, and prior to this, I think the next biggest thing that really benefits veterans that this bill is meant to address was the Blue Water Navy Act 2019. Based on research, 1 in 5 veterans in Clatsop County are likely to benefit from this new law, particularly Vietnam era veterans and Gulf War era veterans who were denied benefits for conditions and locations not previously recognized by the VA for presumptive service connection. This quite literally over the course of the next 3 to 5 years will lead to hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of retroactive monetary benefits for the households of eligible veterans through Clatsop County. And the reason why it's such a big deal, and some of the high points that really you should take note on, is they're increasing we'll start with Vietnam veterans, they're increasing locations in which the United States used toxic herbicides and veterans were exposed. Prior to the passing of this bill, locations like Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, Guam, American Samoa, these were all places that thousands of veterans were denied service-connected benefits for serving in these regions because they were not previously on the law. But the United States did in fact use very harmful and dangerous toxic herbicides, and these veterans have either already died from them, and their spouses and surviving dependents are now without their veteran due to these illnesses, or they're still waiting. They've previously been denied benefits because of it. Additionally, other conditions have been added, but the addition of hypertension as a presumptive service-connected disability being added to this is going to create a huge increase in the veterans that we're seeing through our door. Hypertension, or for lack of a better term, high blood pressure, is really common amongst the veteran community. And when that goes active into law, we're going to see a very, very large influx of veterans coming through our door looking for benefits. On the Persian Gulf War side of the house, when we're talking about the PACT Act, they've added things like chronic bronchitis, COPD, asthma, chronic sinusitis, and chronic rhinitis, all respiratory conditions that veterans who have had to serve in the Southwest Asia Theater of Operations, and many who have had to serve since Desert Storm in the 90s, are still dealing with many of these things, and they were previously denied benefits because they were not recognized as conditions that were associated with their service. So you can guarantee that in the coming months, in the coming short term, we're going to see a huge increase in demands for services. Next slide, please. So in closing, to kind of wrap it all up, I'm sorry, I think we may have, okay, so I think we might have missed a slide. Can you go back one, Amanda? Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. Maybe I didn't. So in closing, our work, we're building a robust community for veterans and their families to engage in services. And thinking outside the box has really led us to serve the military and veteran community much better. Local service providers and advocates, we've got increased visibility, and therefore that's created an increased interest in valuable community partnerships. Outside factors will continue to increase demands for services. Rural veteran suicide is always going to be there, unfortunately, in our community. We're going to do what we can to tackle it. So just thank you again for allowing me this opportunity to discuss this with you and to serve the veteran community. It's where I need to be, and I'm so glad to be here. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. I see that we have a question from Commissioner Bangs.
It's not a question.
ma'am.
I just wanted to pass on, there was an unprompted compliment that was sent your way to me, through me a couple months ago, and that was from Aaron and Oz down in downtown Astoria. And
Thank you.
they mentioned the wonderful work that you're doing with their folks that come visit them through Beacon House. And so I'm just passing that appreciation on to you, because when something is unprompted and is shared with me, I feel like that means a whole lot more than when it is a prompted compliment. So good job. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other comments, questions? Well, thank you very much, Josh. We really appreciate the presentation and all that you're doing for our veterans in the community, and keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to continuing to serve the community.
Thank you. Next item is the Small Business Development Center SBDC financial ARPA request. On page 16 of the agenda, we have 20 minutes for this presentation. And I see that both Jessica Newhall and Kevin Leahy are joining us, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jessica Newhall with SBDC.
I'll kick it off here, Mark. And then
sorry about that, Kevin. Go ahead.
No worries. Good morning, everybody, commissioners, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. We're here to discuss the funding request to SBDC for the ARPA funding. Next slide. Just to give an overview here, I know that we're aware of this, but just to give it some context. So small businesses are a critical component of Clatsop County's economy. Outside of hospitals, government, and wood products industry, small businesses represent the single largest source of county employment. And I got some updated information yesterday from the Oregon Employment Department. Just some other numbers not on the presentation, but came in late yesterday afternoon. So we have with businesses that have between 1 and 5 employees in Clatsop County, 995 businesses that have between 1 and 5 employees in our county. And our county population, just again, benchmark here, 41,428 is our population. And then we have our self-employed. As always, it can get a little muddy here, but just to give the total number of self-employed, 2,575 individuals. So of that, 768 are incorporated and 1,807 are employed but not incorporated. So again, a lot of numbers, but just shows the importance of the small business sector here in our county. Small businesses account for 65% of net new jobs in the US. And of course, our small businesses are all businesses, but we're focused on the small businesses here, extremely vulnerable, with most small businesses operate with less than 30 days of cash buffer. Less than 50% of small businesses will make it for 5 years. And 44% of our entrepreneurs have a college degree. That's important to mention. Jessica is going to review our training that we provide at the SBDC, and again, give it some look at some numbers here. So 44% of entrepreneurs have a college degree. This is nationally. Here in Clatsop County, we have 24% of our population has 24% a bachelor's degree or higher, 34% in the state of Oregon. Some college, 42% here in Clatsop County, and in Oregon, 34%. So we know that our training provides and augments the professional and the educational background of our business owners. Okay, next. So the SBDC is the primary resource for small business support for ensuring the vitality of the small business economy in Clatsop County. Our core competencies, I know you've all heard this, but just to mention again, our core deliverables are no-cost business advising, free and confidential business advising. Our training and the workshops provided, more information to come there. Our small business management program, which is our signature program of the SBDC. It's a 9-month program, information resources, and then we have really added on very strong our Latino business support. Next. So our team, myself and Jessica Newhall, the Associate Director for the SBDC, with you today. Tammy Lambert, our program assistant, and my assistant. And to mention, to reinforce here, the funding request coming before you today is not for the three of us. Our funding comes from SBA, Business Oregon, on the Cedar end, of course, the county's lottery funds, the cities, etc. So this funding request supports Meyer Freeman, Ermey Ochoa, Rocio Simmons, Jim Mejias, and Eric Stromquist, and Ian Reed. Just quickly, Meyer is our an advisor, but he's also our program manager who's joined us now 2.5 years ago. Ermey Ochoa has been a Latino advisor with the SBDC for over 4 years. Rocio Simmons, I'm sure many of you know Rocio. She joined us this past year. She and Hermes focus on the Latino population, but Rocio also does general advising. Jim Mejias has been doing our marketing, our digital marketing. If you receive our Monday morning e-newsletter, it's Jessica and Jim are the authors of that. And again, if you're not, please let us know. We'll make sure that you're on the list. Eric Stromquist joined us this past year. Eric was the past president of the Western Culinary Institute in Portland. He and his wife retired, semi-retired, I like to say that, to Pier 39 in Astoria. And he also started his career back in the 80s working at Jake's. I like to joke with him that maybe he served me when I was working for my corporate days, but great guy. He also was the co-founder of Hot Lips Pizza. And he has a very deep and just a phenomenal, I mean, we have the best team here. And then Ian Reed joined us this past year as our small business management program manager. And Ian's from Canada, and he has a deep background in economic development, digital marketing, etc. Thank you. So the results, recapping from the beginning of COVID, because this funding is to assist with COVID recovery, to help our businesses continue to recover. So from 2020 until literally 2 days ago, we have more updates coming in all the time. And again, these are numbers that have to be signed off on by our businesses. We have to report these numbers to the SBA and Business Oregon and our funders. And so 700 clients served here in Clatsop County, 3,000 counseling hours, jobs created and retained, signed off on by the business, 383. We know it's much greater, but these are the ones that we have in the file and signed and reported. 241 women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, 180. 27 business starts during COVID. We're very proud of that number. Capital formation, that is helping businesses with financial assistance, 6 million, and increased sales. This is what the business says, year over year, their increased sales were and reported almost 4.7 million. Next. Before I turn it over to Jessica, Gaetano's Market and Deli, a new business in downtown Astoria. And they, as you can see here on the overview, they came and approached us before they were open. They continue to work with us, and proud to say we really love, we're a smaller center, but we're a mighty center, and we really deliver big numbers. And this actually was in our statewide SBDC report. That's why it's a class of SBDC Oregon Coast, and where they're saying that I cannot say enough about what a valuable resource the SBDC is to those looking to start a business or improve an existing business. And again, permission from Gaetanos to say this. We have to get a sign off from the client to do that. And then Jessica will continue.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kevin. And so happy to be here to share what we're doing at the SBDC. As Kevin mentioned, we've worked really hard. I mean, we've always worked hard for the business community, but we recognize that when the pandemic struck, that we are basically, when somebody needed help, they had two options. They could Google what to do, or they could turn to a resource. And we wanted to be that front and center resource for the small business community. We saw a lot of misinformation out in the community. We knew that this was such a vital part of our economy. And so one of the things that we did was we, you know, a lot of organizations kind of stepped back and assessed where to be during the pandemic. And we really leaned in, as Kevin shared on the slide with our staff. We grew our staff pretty significantly in the pandemic in response to the demand for our services. And one of the things that we launched pretty immediate following the pandemic was an outbound webcast program. And we weren't doing webcasts prior to the pandemic, but we recognized that we needed to disseminate information very quickly and at no cost to the business community. So we launched a free webcast series that we continue to today. So we do monthly webcasts for the small business community since the pandemic started, and we have held 111 training events with over close to 4,000 attendees. So just recently we had our last one, so we're at 3,882. We led the state during the pandemic. There's you know, over 20 small business development centers throughout the state, and our small rural center led the state in terms of engagement and training events for the small business community. And we continue to serve as well as we can. We do monthly free webcasts. We've also launched some intensive boot camps, really trying to bridge that gap. You know, a lot of people start their business from a place of passion, or they're trying to create a job for themselves, and they don't always have the strongest foundation from a background of knowing, you know, HR strategies, or how to read financial statements, or, you know, what the best marketing principles are. And we really try and help people bridge that gap in terms of education. We have also done recently some industry focused partnerships. So we have the hospitality space is huge here in Clatsop County. So we partnered with the North Coast Food Web and the Astoria Sunday Market to really help entrepreneurs who are in the food space go from kind of micro enterprise into really growing a solid business. We have also worked with our Northwest CCR&R to launch a strengthening business partnership in the childcare space. So we recently completed a cohort of childcare businesses here in the county that I'll talk about here in a minute. We also partnered with WANA Credit Union on a startup business boot camp. So we just finished our third iteration of this. So we've helped approximately 30 entrepreneurs go through this multi-part series to build a business plan, present in kind of a Shark Tank style, and get some seed capital for their business. So that's been a really exciting partnership to have, and we're going to continue that into the fall. And we've also, as Kevin mentioned, we've really strengthened our Latino outreach and support. So we held an open house, our first open house for the Latino business community in May. We had great attendance. We had a packed house, but we recognize it's about 10% of our local business economy. And so we want to make sure that we continue to provide support in a robust fashion. And so we're excited to have added Rocio to that team with her and Hermes doing a lot of outreach. And we're also offering some Spanish language webcasts and Spanish language marketing materials, which we had not offered previously. as I mentioned, we recently, back in the earlier this year, we had been talking to Eva Manderson at the Northwest CCR&R about how to support the childcare business community. We know that this is a space where childcare businesses are, for the most part, they struggle to really figure out how to have a profitable model. And so one of the things that we did was we put together a 5-part class that would be 2 hours in the evening. And we invited business owners and childcare centers from the Tri-County area. We actually reached into Columbia County and Tillamook County. And I taught this 5-part class with support from Eva Manderson, everything from business planning, finance, leadership and HR, marketing, operations, and then provided one-on-one no-cost advising in between those sessions. And it was a really wonderful experience for us to be able to work hand in hand with these business owners. And we do a pre-class survey and a completion survey where we ask the business owners to rate themselves in everything from their financial acumen to their their feeling around their leadership, their competencies, and it's really exciting to see that they self-reported a 35% increase in how they felt about their own business acumen as a result of that class. We are working as part of the Child Care Task Force that I know you recently saw the presentation that we supported with that, and we will do a fall 2020 program and cohort in support of the greater task force. Our other strategic priorities, as Kevin mentioned, is we have our small business management program that will start in the fall. This is a 9-month business management course that puts together, the cohort gets together, and over 9 months, they learn kind of in an intensive manner, kind of an executive MBA style class where they can really level up their skills. This is designed for existing entrepreneurs. And then, as Kevin also mentioned, we have our weekly small business news. This we launched during the pandemic. I have a media background, so I am a strong believer in disseminating things in a one-to-many manner so that we can make sure that business owners have access to information and resources at their fingertips so they can be as effective as they need to be in order to serve their customers and serve their employees and grow their businesses. And so we want to make sure that we are that central resource for them that's curating information, curating news, curating what grants are coming out, that's all at their fingertips. And I'm so thrilled to see that our small business economy here has really been just able to bounce back from the pandemic. I think we can all go through any of our communities right now and see we don't have shuttered storefronts. We have thriving businesses, and I think the SBDC's responsiveness to the pandemic and our business community's resilience was such a wonderful example of how this can really work well. And so I'm really excited to be able to come to you and say that I think we're moving forward from a strong foundation. I will say that, it doesn't, we're all aware of the economic uncertainty that still faces our communities and our nation. And so I think it's an important place to not say we've been successful to date and therefore will be successful moving forward from an economic standpoint. This community is still going to need a lot of support, especially as things like PPP and EIDL and some of the federal and state funding, dries up and we see consumer spending potentially shrink back. I think we're going to be just as necessary over the coming years as we have been during the pandemic. I'll turn back to you. Thank you.
To summarize thank you, Jessica. So to summarize the funding request, this board to continue the transformational and expanded service delivery, the existing CARES Act and funds from COLPAC spent out as of June, we're requesting $180,000. It's basically, or it is $10,000 per month is what it's payroll, with a requested period of July 2022 through December 2023. And again, you met on the screen the team, and that again, the part-time special advisor payroll, the program development specialist payroll, the small business management program conduit expansion payroll, and the communication and outreach support payroll for our part-time specialists. So that is the update, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have for us today.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Leahy and Director Newhall. We can't thank you enough for the work that you've done over COVID and PPE distribution. And certainly I appreciate your participation in the Child Care Task Force. And I just know that you're both very prolific in the community, and we appreciate your efforts. I see Commissioner Thompson and then Commissioner Banks. So Commissioner Thompson.
So Jessica, do you want to close down the presentation so we can see everybody? Perfect.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I am a former consumer of your services. I can't praise you too highly. You are nimble, you are relevant. Most of all, you are effective. You are shining examples of what a few people can do to enhance the well-being of their community in oh so many ways. I am beyond grateful to you. I am always going to say yes when you come to me for support, because I know you. I've listened to your presentations too, the ones that you offered after the pandemic started. Absolutely on point, empowering, relevant. Well done. The other thing I want to point to is the fact that you have reached out. People can talk about DEI. You have actually achieved it. When we came to the Cedar Awards dinner, the shining examples, I keep saying shining, you are shining stars. Your businesses are shining stars in the community. Such wonderful work. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well said, Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Banks?
I would agree. It's invaluable work. There's no way we can really put a price tag on it. I mean, I know we're kind of doing that right now, but but I just wanted to make note that I really appreciate your involvement in the childcare sector and helping muscle that. And I noted Wonder School being added to kind of your package that you are providing childcare as a childcare resource to these folks. And I really feel like we're on the cusp of potentially solving some big problems in our county, and your work is invaluable. And I love seeing your face wherever I go. It just means that we're working, like things are happening, and it is amazing. And I just wanted to say that I'm grateful. I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Banks. Any other comments, questions? I think what we've heard is full support of this request. What's the next step?
So Chair Quaylen, members of the board, we'll be coming with an agenda item. Part of the agreement with the board is that we were going to have you approve every discrete request for the ARPA funding. So we'll put together an agenda item to have you formally approve that, and then we'll just work with Kevin and Jessica to then formalize the agreement to get them the resources. So
thank you, County Manager, and thanks again for the presentation, both Kevin and Jessica. And yes, you have the full support of our commission, and we really appreciate all you've done.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank you. Next item is the ARPA funding request for consolidated 911 review and analysis. That's on page 19, and it is scheduled for 10 minutes. I'll turn it over to our Sheriff Phillips.
Good morning, Commissioner. Sheriff Phillips here. Like Mr. Leahy, I am also coming with my hand out for some ARPA dollars. And this is for a top to bottom detailed review of our public safety radio infrastructure. And so a little bit of background why I'm asking is over the years, all of us in public safety have known that the radios seem to work better on sunny days and not very well on rainy or foggy days, which we have a lot. We've learned that the public safety radio system, which is primarily owned by the cities of Astoria and Seaside, they really don't integrate. When we did our temporary merger down in Seaside, we learned that Seaside could not control the radios owned by Astoria as if they were sitting in Astoria. And so we started asking questions, and we met with the Day Wireless engineers who work on these systems, and we asked for like an explanation of how it works. And they were able to provide this little chart with handwritten notes on it and stuff like that, which really, I mean, I guess it informed, but doesn't paint the whole picture. And things we learned is most of our microwave links are on 23 gigahertz, which is not a public safety frequency and is known to be significantly impacted by fire, smoke and fog and rain. We also learned that a third of our repeater sites are on a 5.6 megahertz microwave frequency, which is doesn't require FCC licensing, so that's probably why it was picked, but it's the same frequency as your Wi-Fi, so it's prone to a lot of interference. And so we contacted Communications Northwest, which is a company that we've worked with many times in the past. They've recently done some studies like this for Yamhill County and Lynn County. I reviewed the Yamhill report and I thought it was very comprehensive. I shared it with other stakeholders. They also thought it was an excellent report. And what they'll do is they'll go and visit every site. They'll look at the equipment that we have, give us reports on the lifespan and the condition. They will give us advice on how to bring our current system up to full potential, what the costs would be. They'll look at some other options, like, do we want to go to a digital system? Would that actually provide benefit for us? And what would that cost? So I think that this would be a product that would be very helpful to all of us in public safety, especially helpful to those of us that are talking through the consolidation process, and help us understand how to make this the best system for our community. Any questions?
I see that we have Commissioner Thompson and Commissioner Baines both have questions. Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, sir. Well, Sheriff, I am delighted to have you taking effective action. I've been hearing about the problems for years. They've terrified me. People could die. All kinds of people could die. But now we see $1.3 million. What will that 1.3 million get us? Will it get us just the analysis, or will it get us the equipment we need to have an effective system?
Well, there's good news. I'm going to save you money because this is only $59,950.
Okay, I'm looking on page 21. Thank you, Sheriff. I'm looking on page 21 of our packet. I like that smaller price tag, but what I'm really looking for is an effective system that keeps first responders safe and effective and keeps community members safe. So that's where I see the 1.3 million.
If I might, Chair Quayla, members of the board, as part of the concept plan for the ARPA, we had set aside $1.3 million, or your board did, for really rural internet and for other communications. And so what the sheriff is requesting would be part of that $1.3 million set aside that your board already approved as part of the concept plan. So, and just as a little background, I'd just like to affirm that, you know, the sheriff's perspective, having gone through a major upgrade to a 911 system, is having this kind of information and this kind of data set to begin all the other conversations is really vital. And given the fact that we're trying to actually consolidate two systems, it's even more imperative because we need to understand where the weaknesses are and where the liabilities are. So thank you.
Thank you, County Manager. Commissioner Banks?
Well, I fully support bringing our county into the 21st century regarding communication. That is, you know, I feel like that is necessary for the health and well-being. And so I fully support it. And I'm grateful that we're exploring, you know, consolidation of communication. And I'm grateful that we actually, you know, it was very fortuitous to have tried consolidation and have found these issues and how that all came about. I'm just glad that we have a clearer looking glass into the situation. So.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Banks. Any other questions, comments? Commissioner? Yeah, Commissioner Toyoka?
This one, hello, Sheriff. Thank you for that report. Hey, and I understand that, with, when we're talking about emergency management or even public safety, command and control is essential, and that does not happen without communication. And when I read this whole thing, I couldn't find out is during the study, do they look at the different cities in our county and how that coordinated effort for communication, could tie in so that we have that broad network of communication, or is this specifically county oriented?
I think that the best way for me to answer this is specific to the infrastructure itself and not how the entities necessarily interact with each other to support, a shared vision of how to address the system.
Well, I guess the question would be like, if the county's going to go to a different technology or system, and we might lose that integration with the cities if they are not upgraded, if they're not compatible.
Right. So I think that this will have two benefits. If we are able to achieve a consolidation, then that entity could decide whether or not to pursue a different type of radio system, say a digital versus a VHF. And then we'd have to look at the costs of that. And this report will provide cost estimates for different systems. But in the interim, I think that having this study will help the cities prioritize the maintenance and repair or upgrades throughout the system, and that we can work together. And I think that relationship is strong between the cities to identify those things that need to be worked on first so that the system can be more whole.
And if I might, Chair Quayla, just to piggyback a little bit off of what the sheriff was saying, is that what the real goal is to have all of us walk together so that we have the same platforms, the same technology, and the same protocols and standard operating procedures, so that there aren't hiccups at those vital moments. And then on the emergency management side, we will have our emergency management director join us August 11th, and there's a lot of work that has to be done on that side to make sure that there's coordination and just muscle memory between all the different agencies when something bad happens. And so both of those will be taking place, but the goal in both is to have coordinated muscle movement between all of us, because in an emergency that's going to be vital.
Yeah, thank you, County Manager. Commissioner Thompson.
Well, thank you. So here I am thinking like a ham radio person still. I love that phrase, frequently used, and I see it developing all over Clatsop County, coordinated muscle movement. How then do you contemplate that the volunteer ham radio community will coordinate with this? And that's a general question for longer term. It doesn't have to be answered today, but it's an essential part of the system for community preparedness.
And what I would say, Commissioner Thompson, is that's a great question. And that's something that with the new emergency management director and with hopefully a consolidated 911 system, we can have those conversations. So.
Any further questions, comments?
Just as a little background, as I said with the previous presentation, is there'll be an agenda item that the sheriff will be bringing for your approval at an upcoming board meeting.
Yeah, thank you, County Manager, and thank you for the presentation, Sheriff Phillips. And I'm in agreement with my fellow commissioners that we're supportive of this and look forward to it coming on our agenda. Thanks again. We have one item, I guess it's the executive session that's next up, and the Clatsop County